Hey cats, what's happening? Hey, glad you could join me today. Good to have you along. Some of you guys I know personally. Some I know somewhat about you from your comments. I've seen hundreds of your comments, so I kind of have an idea who you are. And others I'm not quite sure who you are yet, but thanks for joining us today. If you watched my last video, I was strolling through the yard here and I was showing you how the deer walk across the pond. Well, this is our flowering crabapple. It was like 2 days later, well, the day after, it snowed all night. We got like 4 or 5 inches of snow. And I trimmed it up. The whole side of that crabapple broke off and was laying out in the yard. I was devastated. I mean, it broke my heart. So I had to cut the broken limb off of it. And what I'm going to do here, I might get at this today, but you'll see there's a lead going way out this way. So I am going to put an eye bolt in that piece, an eye bolt in the main stem, and I'm going to jack that back up to fill in that void and fix my crabapple. It's getting ready to flower. The flowers haven't opened yet, but this thing's going to be incredible when it doesn't. Thank God the snow and the heavy freeze didn't kill the blossoms. One other thing you may have watched on my last video, I was walking around the back of the pond over there, and if you look in the woods back there in the background, you see this big buck walking through the woods. And I'm oblivious. I didn't even know it was there. Pretty cool, but you get that out here. Well, let's head into the man cave and chat for a while. Yeah, so speaking of snow and adverse weather conditions, and we sure got it the other day. Fine, how do you do for coming up on the end of April? You're coming into gardening season pretty soon, and yeah, we got inundated with this huge snowstorm. But I was thinking back about some of the adventures I had riding when I ran into some really adverse weather conditions, and I'm sure you all can share them too. Way back in the day, the motorcycle was my main mode of transportation during the summer months, and as I could push it out as far as I could into the other season too, as long as it wasn't sub-zero. So I rode the bike to work every day that I could. And one particular day, I believe it was in March, it was probably mid-March, it was one of those days where, I woke up and it was somewhere around 45, 50 degrees, okay to ride to work, and it looked like it was going to warm up a little bit during the day. I never looked at the weather report, and back then I didn't have a cell phone, with the weather app on it that I could see radar or anything like that. I went through my work day, 8-hour day. At the end of my shift, it starts to snow, and the temperature just went down. The guys are like, "Oh boy, Itchy, you're in trouble now." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'll be okay." Well, clocked out, got on the bike, took off, and at first, it wasn't too bad, but the snow was coming down heavy, and it was coming down real wet, that just thick, wet, heavy snow. And luckily, where the cars in front of me, the snow was actually piling up on the road, but there was the wet tire tracks where the cars were driving. So I just stayed right in one of those wet tire tracks and kept on some pavement that wasn't so slick, and just took my time and took it nice and easy, and I was able to make it home that day. When I got home, my leathers were just like, I bet I had an inch of snow just caked, impacted onto the whole front of me from, the snowfall coming on me. I'll never forget that one. A couple other incidents I remember too, where the weather was very adverse. One summer day, well, let's see, that was always at the end of summer in September. The Chillicothe Easy Riders Rodeo down in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I rode down there every year. Well, this one particular weekend that they were having the Easy Riders Rodeo, I got off work early, flew home, loaded up the Harley, packing all my gear on here, my sleeping bag, my tent, and whatever food I was going to eat, my toothbrush, whatever. And it started to sprinkle rain. I thought, well, that ain't going to stop me. I've been waiting for this all summer. I love the Chillicothe Rally. I'm going, rain or shine. I put my rain gear on and took off. It was probably mid to late afternoon and headed down Chillicothe. Now it's about a 3.5 hour drive from here, 4 hours in traffic conditions, so a little bit of a ride. And the further I got south, the heavier the rain got. It poured, and it poured so hard, it kept pouring harder and harder, that you were like, I stayed in the lane, and I stayed right behind the taillights of another vehicle, just because I thought that was my only safe zone. To be changing lanes would have been bad. I couldn't see in my mirrors, everything was fogged over. These don't have windshield wipers. So the windshield's worthless when it rains. You got either glasses or safety or goggles or something on, and they're all full of rain and they get fogged up. So you're like peering over the top of your glasses, squinting, blinking your eyes, the rain's coming in your face. It's a dangerous condition. But boy, I was hell-bent to get there. I just kept going, hammering down. I probably ran about 50, 55 mile an hour in this torrential downpour. I had to chuckle because every underpass that I went under, there was all the motorcycles lined up under the underpass, just kind of sitting it out, waiting for the rain to stop, thinking, well, we'll go down there as soon as it stops raining. We'll just hang out here and have a picnic. Not itchy, no. I just kept on going, hammering down. Well, by the time I got down to Chillicothe, it had almost stopped raining anyway. But the place was a mud hole. It was a mud bog pit. Both feet down, or you were going to lose it, because the back end of my bike was sashaying all over the place. Thankfully, a buddy of mine found me right away, and he said, don't go up there in the mud. Come over to the other end of the compound. The Outlaw MC has a compound over there, all fenced in, private. It's dry, it's up on the hill, and I'll give you a pass to get in. So that's where I camped for the weekend, and it was a good weekend. But my bike was just impacted with mud from, when I got there. So I had a big mess to clean up after I got home. Oh, adverse weather conditions. What else did I have? Well, V and I rode to Washington, D.C. for Rolling Thunder one year. And, when you ride from here to D.C., you have to go over the Allegheny Mountains. And they're not like the Rockies or anything, but you go up in altitude, and then you have to drop back down towards D.C. So we started out in the morning. We probably had at least a dozen bikes or more. As I remember, there was quite a few of us, and we all rode together in a pack. And as we came up in elevation, I don't know, we were in Pennsylvania, somewhere in that area, and the temperature started to drop. Well, it got a little chilly, and then it got foggy. I mean, it got so foggy that I could barely see the taillight of the bike in front of me. Now, the big worry is when you're on a motorcycle, even in a car, and foggy conditions like that, scared to death that somebody's going to run into you. It was all you could do to see the lane you were in, to stay in the lane, because it was the fog was thick as pea soup. We rode kind of tight. We tried to maintain at least 35, 40 mile an hour. Just because we were scared, we didn't want to stop. The worst thing you can do is stop in the fog, and then bam, somebody comes. You don't have enough sight distance ahead of you to stop. So keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. Well, we were cold, we were shivering. We didn't expect that kind of cold weather, and it was damp, and the fog was like just almost like rain, like fogging up your glasses and everything. It was rough. we came out of the fog, though. We started coming down out of the elevation. The fog lifted. We stopped at the first service station that we could find, the first plaza at the bottom of the hill, and got ourselves some hot chocolate or coffee or whatever to warm up and sit in the sunshine for a little bit. Yeah, you know, those are events that you wouldn't want to repeat again, but they're memorable. They're great for telling stories about later on. Hey, remember the time when yeah, I sure do, and I wouldn't want to do that again. But that's the thing about Mother Nature. You can't trust her. You never know when she's going to turn her ugly head, and you don't know what she's going to throw at you. You know, it's not so bad when you're in a car, but when you're on a motorcycle and you're in the wind, it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. Well, thanks for joining me today, guys. I don't know what I'm going to get into today. I don't think I'm going to ride. I'm probably going to go out there and work on that tree. How about that? I've got some eye screws. Yeah, these lag things. So I'm going to drill a little hole in each branch, screw those all the way in, and then I've got some heavier cable and some clamps. I'll use my ratchet strap to pull them up, jack them up, and then I'll wire everything, and it should be good to go. Well, again, thanks for joining me. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Thanks for coming along on this ride. Leave your comments down below and tell me your story. It'd be good to hear from you. Until next time, cats, ride hard.